You're listening to Criticaleye's Inspiring Leaders podcast. Criticaleye is a global membership community with over 2 decades of experience supporting senior executives in their roles. We work with board-level executives, giving them opportunities to build their knowledge, skills, and access independent reference points outside of their immediate networks. Whether you're stepping up into a more senior role or aspiring to do so, looking to hone high-level stakeholder relationships, drive operational performance, build your own personal resilience as a leader, or have longer-term career goals such as moving into a plural career, Criticaleye's approach supports a range of leadership challenges and ambitions.
Welcome to Criticaleye's Inspiring Leaders podcast. My name is Marc Barber, Director of Content at Criticaleye, and today we'll be talking about the CFO's role in driving innovation and growth. Delighted to have Christopher Boerger, CFO of E.ON UK, to talk through this subject with me today. Welcome, Christopher.
Welcome, Marc. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, great to have you. So you've just a little bit about yourself, I guess, just to kick things off. You've been with E.ON since 2001, right? You've lived and worked across different countries across Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started after university, and you could say, well, this is super boring. You've been with a company 20 plus years, but E.ON is a great place to work and being present in quite a lot of countries across Europe. So I had the opportunity as well to work abroad, and I think this year marks my 10th year working abroad, being in the UK now since 2023 as CFO of the customer solutions business of the UK.
Okay. And when did you start this role? It was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 2023, mid of year, I started.
Yeah.
And before I was the CFO of the Dutch customer solutions business of E.ON.
Okay. And so what, I guess, without necessarily going into too much detail, but as a summary, what would you say this role entails? What are you primarily responsible for?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I think the CFO role, and indeed, you can now have a separate session on what the role of a CFO is. But
Yeah.
I think how the role has developed, and I see myself as the commercial partner and the co-pilot, you could say, of the CEO, making sure that we drive, the company to an EBIT optimum or to an earnings optimal, and trying to find opportunities to grow, supporting the business with that commercial mindset, and as well supporting the interaction with the group company in Essen. So as well being a sparring partner with the functions there, and then the local business here in the UK.
Okay. Well, like you say, because it can be a very broad church, can't it, in terms of the remit of the CFO, and quite contextual in terms of where a business is and its journey and performance. It's sort of coming to it then. What does innovation mean for you and in your role? And I guess in the context of where the business sits at present.
Innovation is not a cost center or a project or whatever. It's a mindset of how we approach things as a company. I think therefore, for me, innovation starts always with a customer. And then if you look at E.ON UK, we're with quite a broad range of customers that we're serving. So being it B2C customers, being it SME, larger B2B customers, but as well then cities, for example, that we work with. And for me, it's then always, and I think for the business, then always the question of how can we serve the customer better, what our customer needs. And I think it's always important that you have an arm or a team thinking about innovation with a bit of a longer term view as well. So making sure that you have a team working on the run and securing that we provide a fantastic customer experience for the customers that we're having, and then another team thinking about, well, what you need to kind of work on and transform to in order to as well deliver that fantastic experience to customers going forward. And I mean, if I look at B2C, I think the big topic that you have with customers there is, I would say, from a broader perspective, is affordability. I think that's not just B2C. You can as well link that to B2B and industry customers, but B2C, I think is a big topic. And I think what we are currently working on and in the innovation team supports and brings ideas in is flexibility. So how can we ensure that we provide access for customers to flexible offerings where they then can as well, by shifting their usage pattern, benefit from cost savings. And for me, it's a bit kind of taking control of your energy bill back. So I think that's one thing. If I look for me as a person, what I would be, what I would like to see, and I'm unfortunately living in Germany, so there is no smart meters, but in the UK there is smart meters. Is that that I, by how I behave and how I use energy, can drive the energy bill and benefit as well by changing my usage pattern. I think therefore flexibility from a B2C perspective is a huge topic, but as well working with grid companies. We're working a lot on innovation projects with grid companies where we try to help the customers, but as well the grid companies in areas with grid congestion, and working with batteries there at customer homes. So these are all things for me that they don't drive immediate benefit to us, but I think from a long-term perspective, we all want to support the energy transition and making it affordable for all of our customers, not just a few. And I think innovation can play an important role there.
Hugely complex what you're talking through there. I like that point around the short versus long term. Just to again sort of get a sense of some of the plate spinning that you're on, what would you describe as some of the shorter term pressures that can easily drag focus away from that longer term planning and sort of, I guess, strategic thought?
Yeah, it's a good one. I think affordability is the big topic for me, and I think for us, it's really close to our heart, because at the end, I mean, I'm very much supporting the energy transition. That is absolutely what we need to do, decarbonizing the energy system. So, like everything that the government is doing and pushing for, I think what is nevertheless important is that it needs to be still then affordable for customers. So, and for all customers, not just the house owners who have the ability to put a PV on roof and use heat pumps and all the good things, that we need to as well find solutions for customers that live, for example, in flats and that who don't have the chance to put some solar on the roof. And then we have a partnership. I think that's as well important. And if you talk innovation, sometimes there is that feeling that, and it was in our organization as well, you need to do everything yourself, and that's super complex, and you need to build up lots of capabilities. And I think what we did first was telling, and still doing it, telling our people, well, you don't need to do everything yourself. If you have an ecosystem where partners like to work with you and they benefit as well working with you,
use their
innovation.
Working
with partners makes a lot of sense. And we have a partnership with an Australian company called Illum, who are basically providing a solution for flats and having a solar system then installed there where all the let's say that the people that live in that flat block can participate. And I think these are things where it's just for us very important that the energy transition needs to be something that everybody benefits from and not just a few one that can afford it.
Yeah, so really looking at that price point and then scanning the potential partners as well to access their innovation. Has there been more of a focus on this in, again, you took on the role 2 years ago, just sort of curious about, have you just always felt that responsibility in your role to be supporting innovation, or have you felt like the sort of, if you like, the temperature's gone up maybe sort of more recently?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think that temperature has gone up, to use your words. My strong belief set, and luckily I'm working in a board where that belief set is there across the board. I think our fundamental belief set is that innovation is, as I said, it's a mindset. You need to continuously improve, and innovation is helping with that. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, the industry that we're working in is changing, and I think that's kind of valid for all industries around us. So you need to check and understand what are the trends, how can you support your customers, what customer needs are there, and how do we support those. Therefore, innovation was always important. And I think we just, as some of the others, I'm pretty sure, we're just trying to find our way through that, making sure that this is again anchored more as a mindset and not seen as there's a team thinking about some fancy stuff that might be relevant in the future, and then the business not being interested. But I think it needs to be a close collaboration between the business and innovation, because at the end, as I said, we do this to support our customers, B2C customers, B2B customers, but as well cities and overarching. So I guess that is important, that this is very much anchored into the mindset of the company, that this is important to continuously improve. I think maybe if I look at it back 2 years or so, maybe it was more focused on supporting efficiencies and costs, where I think the mindset changed to what is the future looking like as well, not just in the next year, but in the next 2 or 3, 5 years. Yeah. So what's the horizon?
Because I think that's where the CFO role is getting really tough, right? Because in one sense, it's again, it's like, okay, well, we've got to look at productivity, efficiency, but now it's spinning both plates. It's like, okay, but also we need to find a way to innovate, and we need that mindset. And I guess that leads me into that point around what's been your learning process around that, around, I guess, some of the governance of innovation, if you like, because I don't think there's an easy answer there, right? But I'm quite interested to get some of your thoughts around it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think indeed it's a bit like, from a CFO perspective, it's a bit like split. You need to have a bit of a splitted personality and respect, because I think why it's important to is always, and I made it very clear in all the sessions, and we're currently working through our midterm plan, and there again, that point is coming up. It's not a cost topic, it's an investment into the future. And you need to do it to keep your place at the table. So I think it's just important that you share that, especially with your finance teams, because the immediate reaction, and that was maybe coming to a question, one of the learnings is, well, if there is no business case, there's not a good thing to do, right? So we only can do it if we have a business case, and then we need a budget, and then we need a plan for the next 10 years, how the revenues develop and what the margin is looking like. And I think if we're all honest on some of the activities, potentially you are that mature that you can create a business case, but on others, it is just an idea, and you do ideation. And if you then overburden your organization with the request of doing business cases, the guys that should kind of create ideas and get some stuff done, they actually kind of blocked in governance only because they need to fill spreadsheets and board documents. So I think what we tried to develop, and I think we're still in that process, is what is the right process altogether to work through, which allows governance to happen, but as well doesn't kind of kill innovation with the governance bear hug, where we asked a lot of things in the first place, where actually, if you're super honest, they won't be there. I think still, discipline maybe is as well one thing that is still relevant, because you can be agile and everything, but you can as well do that in a disciplined way. So I think what is important is you don't have a business case potentially, but what is always key to me is to understand what is the next touch point. So what will we learn in the next phase? So if we now spend that money, what is our ambition? What do we want to learn? And then as well being critical at the end of whatever that period. Is it a month? Is it 4 weeks? Is it a 2-week sprint? Is it 4 weeks? Whatever. But just being honest then as well, saying, well, that idea didn't fly, or it doesn't fly now because of regulatory environment. And I think it's important to be honest with yourselves, because what we've learned, I think, is sometimes you keep the idea then running, because you don't have these touch points, or you don't have that clear decision point, and then an idea can run for a couple of months, and that might frustrate the organization because then they're continuously supporting and trying to develop an idea, which takes a lot of resources, and people don't understand then why you do it. So I think discipline is important, but don't start this big governance bear hug from the beginning, asking for business cases on everything, because then you might destroy the ideation in the company.
Yeah, I like that idea of the governance bear hug. But I guess what you're kind of referring to there is that there are sort of milestones
Yeah.
in place, if you like, to sort of, okay, this is what you're trying to do. We will then sort of check in and
Yeah.
talk through what you've achieved in that point. I mean, where do you stand on agility then? Is it something you absolutely buy into, and think is necessary to drive some of the ideas and creativity that you're talking about, or can it be somewhat overused words?
Yeah, I think in the beginning I deliberately was more on the agile part, because I wanted to get the organization moving and being, let's say, open and positive about innovating and trying new ideas. Now I think we're moving a bit into the phase where we say, well, discipline still is important.
Yes.
Because when we checked in and said, well, how many projects are we working on? We get something like 50 plus projects they're working on. And then the challenge from the whole board, very rightfully, was, well, guys, where's our focus? So how can we cluster things? Where's the, coming back to my initial point, what is the customer need that we're serving? And how to make sure that we focus on the right things, and as well then pause some topics if we don't feel like that there's traction or we're not getting forward with that, and not hitting the milestones. I think that's the part where we're now focusing more again on the process as well, to help the business working through that funnel of ideas. Because otherwise you're very busy with yourself, and you don't create then things at the end that you can scale and really deliver to the market. So I think finding that balance is absolutely key. But for me, it's not an either or. I'm pretty convinced, and very strongly convinced, you can be agile and disciplined. And I think companies in the past that have been successful in doing innovation or creating new things, they're always seen as they're super agile. But I think if you had the chance to discuss with some guys from Amazon, or for example, these guys are absolutely disciplined, and they don't ride a dead horse idea until or for 3-4 years. They stop things as well, and then they put their focus on something else. So I think for me it's an end. Yeah? So you can be agile and disciplined. And you need to be, if you want to be successful driving new ideas.
Have you made changes to your finance team in how it's structured to support some of these innovation
Yeah,
projects?
that's a good one. Yeah, indeed we did. So we work with business partners that are always very closely linked to the business areas. And for innovation, we set up a small team, 2 people, supporting the innovation area specifically, because you need that. First of all, you need someone who kind of reminds people on the discipline, on the process, and helps.
Yeah.
Because again, these guys are very great in creating ideas. They're not here to follow 80%
Well, you need the
of the
mix of
time.
skills,
Yeah,
don't you,
yeah, absolutely. So
to
they
deliver
should
what you're
focus.
describing?
Yeah, they should focus on their things, and we need to help from a finance perspective. I think what is as well key for this finance business partner team is making sure that we align then and link that into to the business areas, because at a certain point of our process, there needs to be a business owner of an initiative. Because so if you move from, well, we had a great idea and we've done some market testing and customers really like it, then I want to have the business owning it and developing it. So at least developing it then with the guys, and in innovation, that we create something that we can scale. And therefore it's important that you have then a finance team that interlinks and make sure we bring the right capabilities to the process at the right point in time. So when do we need to discuss with legal? When do we need to discuss with treasury? Is there a tax topic that we need to consider? So that's important that we have that team that actually supports the process and makes sure we bring the right experts to the table at the right point in time.
What's been your approach to incentivization to giving people sort of a P&L, sort of for freedom over the P&L? Has your thinking around that evolved?
Yeah, but I think we were pretty consistent. So what we said was there is we've put some money aside to actually allow innovation to happen. So you need to have a team that can actually work on it. But what we have not done is then, and it was a conscious decision, creating now a nice hockey stick plan where you grow the cost and the revenues, and you pretend you know what happens in the next 5, 10 years. But what we've said was you have a basic team that works on stuff, and if then there is an initiative that we want to ramp up, then in the process we will have a session where we discuss budgets and spend on top. So we're not kind of signing this off already a year in advance, but we're discussing it on the spot every 3 months in the board. We're just going through the cases, and then we go through as well the financial needs, and as well and see what kind of returns do we expect. Is there anything that we expect short term, midterm? And then we make sure that we as well reflect that in the plans and the targets of the respective business area. I think that we've stick to that process from the beginning, and we've not changed that, and it actually worked well.
Because in some corporates you can get like a sort of shadow P&L going on where there's sort of investments going on, but it sounds like
Yeah,
from what you're describing, there's much
but
tighter control there.
yeah, but it's not a shared P&L, because at the end, if an idea ramps up, then it needs to sit
Yeah,
in the business P&L that actually delivers. So, and therefore I said you need that business ownership at a certain stage, because
yeah, it's
it's
different.
not done to the business, but they need to own it and actually see the benefit when taking the idea over.
Yeah, and then because of the way the teams have been set up, the incentivization and the focus is there
Yeah,
as as
that's
well.
at least our ambition.
It's a work in progress, right? It's a journey, I think,
Yeah,
as they
absolutely,
say.
absolutely.
What's been challenging for you in terms? Has this always been an element of your role in terms of your mindset, your approach as CFO? Have you always felt comfortable supporting innovation teams in this way, or is you had to sort of challenge yourself slightly in how you're trying to
Um,
support this?
Yeah, I think I always like to think about new ideas and if what might make commercial sense. So I always like the exchange with these colleagues, because they have some ideas where as well quite broad changes they have in their mind, which I like as a challenge, because the status quo is there to stay for the next 10 years, and you don't need to change. So I think that I like that challenge from the team a lot. I think where it was challenging in the past was when we were moving from that agile kind of way to a bit more disciplined way. I think you see there was lots of negativity sometimes around in the finance teams, because they felt like, wow, there is no process. We get just called in sessions without any context. We need to provide then a business case, and we don't have any clue, and there's no business owner. So you need to help basically with the process as well to keep the positivity and the support in the organization on innovation. I think that was a bit of a challenge in the last months, where we felt like, okay, now we need to at least give it a little bear hug in terms of governance, and ensure that there is a clear process and step approach in there. Because otherwise, again, as I said, you can keep your organization busy, then very internal focused, if you're not ensure that there is a process at the end where as well sometimes might say no to an idea, or you pause an idea because it doesn't fly at the moment. So I think that was a bit challenging, but I think that's what you always have when you change. I mean, there's bumps in the
Yeah,
road, but I think my
it needs to be uncomfortable, but
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I think the true north hasn't changed. The true north is, yes, we need to make sure that we deliver a fantastic experience for our customers, and as well make a reasonable margin. But there is as well always that focus of, okay, well, how will the market develop? What is that what we can do which makes us different than other energy suppliers? So you need to have that run and change continuously within your mindset.
okay, okay. To put you on the spot slightly here, do you Do you have an example of where you think it's worked well, where you think something has been created?
Yeah, I made this example with the loom. So I like the partnership point a lot.
Yeah.
Because in good old terms, it was always that make or buy decision, uh, which I think was always a bit of narrow because there is as well the partnership approach where you can do stuff together. So I like the loom example because for me, as I said, it's supporting or provides a solar solution as well for flats. For me, that is a unserved market so far. Yeah?
Yes.
And I think there's a huge opportunity there, and the team worked well, kind of found that partner, worked with the partner, and I like that that it takes always a bit of time until the organization is fully behind it and they see the opportunity and kind of take that on board on top of their normal BAU challenges, you could say. But that worked really well.
Again, I think we've touched on it when we've been talking, but again, it's often said that larger organisations struggle when it comes to innovation. It's the much used sort of turning of the oil tanker analogy, and that smaller companies are much better. I've seen smaller companies be terrible at innovation, as as well. So again, I think it's one of those comments that again you can wonder about. Oh, what's your take on what in your approach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first of all, as I said before, I think it's important that you have a team that is dedicated working on innovation. Because I mean, at least that's my view. I mean, there might be companies that have set it up differently, and there's innovation teams within each business area. I rather prefer to have it a bit centralized and then supporting the businesses to just make sure, yeah, people have that broad view and follow customer needs and money across the business and not just on one specific part of the business that they're working with. And then I think it's important to make sure that how's the incentivization? So how do we kind of put it? If you could say, well, if you spend money, then there needs to be an immediate return in your plan, guys, and your next year's EBITDA target is increasing by blob because you've spent some money on your innovation. I think if you do that, you might create frustration in the organization because some of these things just take time and they're very difficult to plan. So that's why what I said before, we kind of kept a central innovation budget where there is a team working on stuff and that sits outside the business area. That's not recharged. That's our central kind of like a strategy team. That's our innovation activity. That's how we run it. And then we as well don't start recharging these activities to the business unless the business is taking over these activities. Again, what you then avoid is that people discuss the cost and what is recharge and is that a fair share and that kills all this positive. Let's work with them, let's create ideas and let's develop something together. You kill it with that that recharge game where people are then debating and creating a bit of a cottage industry on recharges and you lose sight of what you actually have invested. So I think it's making sure you're putting reasonable targets to the team that they can work on, but we're not reflecting on ideas or very early stage ideas. We're not reflecting any big things in their plans immediately because again, I see the risk you frustrate the business and then kind of the appetite to do innovation and support it might be limited at a certain stage because they feel like, well, I can support my EBITDA number with my operating business that I have, and all this innovation stuff is for somebody else because it just blocks my P&L and blocks my time. So you need to find the right way of. You need to keep it simple.
Are you specifically talking about the structure within E.ON UK?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I guess that would be my advice. So if I would not work in E.ON, I would run my own business. I would do it in a very similar way, and that's usually what I use as a comparator. So how would I do it with my own money if I would invest? So I think you need to make sure there's a team that delivers, and then there's a team that has the space to create something new, and they need to be closely working together. But if you need ambitious targets, but if you set them to overly ambitious, short-term kind of EBITDA optimization, you might drive then a very strange behavior where people say, well, I don't invest now in innovation because I need to hit my short-term EBITDA. And then you, with that, destroy long-term value creation in a company. So I would always kind of put money aside where people can try and work and test new things. And then you need to carefully watch how you do that in the long-term incentivization, that people really are having that joint value target that they're striving for, and don't jeopardize that with delivering their short-term EBITDA commitments.
Okay, I think that's a nice way to wrap it up. So look, thank you, Christopher. This is great to have you join us today to talk through that, and thank you to all of you for joining us and listening to what Christopher had to say. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget you can listen to all our podcasts wherever you get your podcasts from. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.